My father, Petro Dmitrovich Kochubeynik, was trained as a journalist. However, beyond his formal journalism education, he began his career after the end of the Second World War as a photojournalist, traveling to the most volatile regions of the Soviet Union and documenting the events taking place there. That is how he eventually found himself in Western Ukraine, where, despite his constant travels, most of his life ultimately unfolded. What is especially interesting is that he created a great deal of literary work. He wrote poetry, short stories, and essays, but above all, he loved satire and humor. Quite often, he produced humorous and satirical pieces. The last time he visited me was in 1999, just days, in fact, only weeks before his death. At that time, I asked him to write his memoirs because I was deeply interested in the past he had taken, especially his childhood. By then, the Soviet Union had already collapsed, and there was no longer any restrictions on expressing one's thoughts. People no longer had to fear telling the truth. My father told me that he had begun working on the memoirs. However, after his passing, when my mother brought me several folders filled with handwritten pages, I initially believed they were his memoirs. In reality, they turned out to be hundreds of pages of his final work, drafts of his last humorous writing. I would very much like to publish them as a separate collection. I have already sorted and organized what could be deciphered. Unfortunately, my father's handwriting is extremely difficult to read, and there are many corrections throughout the manuscripts. Still, I hope that one time I will be able to piece everything together. At the very least, I want to preserve the humorous works for my grandchildren and perhaps even for my great-grandchildren in the future.